Hello everyone, welcome. It's Fright Night Show, where I'll be sharing with you collective horror stories shared by everyone. Also articles that I've found online, on social media. It may be new or old. It may be real or not, but I'll leave to you guys to decide because I do not want the listeners to get carried away. It's just for solely for entertainment purposes. So today is Thursday, the Thursday 25th of November, where I'm thinking of doing a daily special kind. So maybe like for Thursday nights, I'll be doing more about articles, and then on the next day, Friday night, maybe it'll be like the Freak Show Fridays. I don't know. So you can leave your suggestions. I'm always open to suggestions to make this better, as I am pretty new myself at this. So thank you so much for the support and bearing with me. I will try my best, and then with all the suggestions given, I will make, hopefully this show will have lots of improvement. So as of now, I need to check with the background music. Hi, welcome to the show. It's nice to see you live. You're like a daily listener. I hope Twitch recognize you. And you can get a badge for that, for just for my show. So as I was saying, can I check with you if you can hear the background music? Okay, great. So today Thursdays. Though I think yesterday I was sharing haunted roads in Singapore, and then it led from one article to another article where I found haunted MRTs, our mass rapid trains. So there's a lot of well-known haunted train stations here, and also not just from article. I would say one of the train station is also one of them that I personally have my own experience to share with. It's not that scary. It's still questionable. I don't know whether it literally happened, whether it was really something I saw a ghost, or I was just too tired and hallucinating. So without further ado, I will read the first story. Okay, so there's this train station. We have a lot actually of train stations in Singapore, and one of them, centralized. It's considered the central part of Singapore, where it's called Ang Mo Kio. It is known to be haunted. There are articles and posting about seeing white figures at the rail track there. So I'm not sure. It could be Photoshop, it could be just the hoax, or maybe there was something there. So moving on about this MRT station, what I read. Okay, so this story happened quite a while ago. I was boarding the last train on my way home to Toa Payoh. It was a late Sunday night, and no one else was around except for a couple on the other side of the platform. So just as I was messaging my friend on my phone, I noticed something at the corner of my eye. My attention was diverted to the water cooler, which was at the far end of the platform. I saw a white figure who looks like that of a girl hovering towards me. In fact, when I looked properly, it was wearing a hooded cape, and there wasn't a face in it, but just a pair of yellow eyes. It was then that I was totally rooted to the ground and broke out in cold sweat. I simply froze in terror, awaiting my death. When the figure was about a meter away from me, I suddenly plucked up the courage to bolt out of the platform and sprinted up the steps. In the midst of it all, I dropped my phone and I didn't care. All that concerned me was to get out of the station as fast as my legs could carry me. So when I tapped out the gantry, I was a little calm to see human beings there. I immediately got out of there and flagged down the cab to get home. I was too scared to get back and take the train. So then the next day when I went back to the station to ask for the staff if they saw, a phone, and told them what happened to me. However, the head officer said I was probably too exhausted and maybe I was hallucinating. Since then, I try not to take the MRT late at night again. So those of you who have a habit of taking the late or last train rides, better beware. This is a posting on social media relating to the haunted MRT. It's not my story, but I can relate to it. There's a few other stations here. So, have you have any haunted stations, train stations in from where you're from? Have you ever experienced anything, or know a friend who experienced any haunted train stations there? Okay, so this Woodley MRT station. This is a very interesting one. It is known to be built on the Exhume cemetery. Okay, so this whole land initially before it was a cemetery. So what about it? So it is really known about this Woodley. Okay, before I go further to another kind of story. Alright, so this Woodley MRT, it's in the east. So it's not really in the east. It's one of the, I would say it's still central, but not that direct central. Woodley MRT near Bidadari Cemetery. So this humble pit stop runs through Bidadari Cemetery, or what it used to be, at least. A whopping of 143,000 graves were exhumed in the early 2000s to prepare the land for redevelopment. So it would be surprising if anyone spots anything irregular. What it says that rumors had been said to see, pochong around the stations, or even hearing sounds of laughter, or just another kind of, eerie sounds. So what about this? I believe because it is built through the grave, where they had to exhume all the previous graveyards, blah blah blah, and then build this track. There is one story that I was shared. So a story that has been shared to me about this building, the building of this train station itself. So it's his uncle, I believe, or a relative. Before this whole, it took a while to build this station, to get the station even running, operating. Because as they were building, they were digging up a lot, and the land, it was previously a burial ground. So what actually happened is, while they were going through all this construction work, and as they were digging, something dropped from above. So imagine them being underground, digging, doing all this work, and then out of the blue, something dropped. So what dropped? It is known that a corpse, a wrapped up corpse, dropped from above. So to them, it's like above from the sky, a body like a corpse that is wrapped up is dropped. And this is the ghost I'm referring to. It's called the pochong. So this thing just dropped from above as this workers were digging out for the construction of this train station, right? Out of the blue it dropped. And it was shocking, of course, because they didn't know where it came from. At further digging, they found few more skeletal remains and all that. But remember the thing that dropped when they like the attention shifted to the skeletal remains that they found more. They realized what they saw that dropped went missing, right? So where is this? Was it really him that dropped? Was it something else that dropped? Even if so, what could it be? Because it went missing right after the attention went, away to finding more skeletal remains. So a lot of work needs to be done just to get this train station set up. And this is what it is now, as of today. What do you think about this story? I feel like maybe because as much as it's exhumed, there may be, because it's a huge plot of, the grave, the cemetery, huge lot of land. Maybe there are some graves that wasn't known to be there, that they didn't manage to clear, that they didn't manage to exhume it all off. And I believe, the one sleeping is still, being disturbed. The land of the rest there, they're probably disturbed by all this building and constructing. Maybe that's a sign for them to stop. I don't know. Or maybe it's also a sign for them to look out for more that could be still underground. It remains to be known. So I think that's a pretty interesting story. Now moving on to this train station, this Novena MRT station. This personally I do have an experience with it. But just a background story to it. So this Novena, the ground we know now as Novena MRT, it used to be a Jewish cemetery, right? So which held burials from the early years of 1904 to 1973. However, the site was cleared and relocated a few years later in 1985 to make way for the train station's development. So this is how they're building it. So this MRT station itself is located to one of Singapore's old hospital. It's not that old, but people know it. It's known as Tan Tock Seng Hospital. It's also known to be one of the haunted hospitals in Singapore. So that kind of area where you have hospitals, and then it was the Jewish cemetery before. There are rumors that commuters, do bump into while taking a train there. They would see apparitions of corpses and even pallbearers carrying coffins. So that remains to be known. No leh, I don't drink. So for this, okay, personally, when during my high school days, Novena MRT was the most train station that I'll drop by. And I also work part-time and night shifts, also at this area. So I think that was once I went back home and it was around like 11 plus. I know it could be around like the second last train there. So what happened was, I think while I was waiting, remember the article that says that commuters have reported seeing apparitions, and even some of them do see nuns. Now this article is known to me like pretty recently, but my experience, this happened like way years ago. I think it was more like, I think it's about 9 to 8 years ago. And while waiting, it was 11 plus. I was just sitting while the train, waiting for the train to come. I did notice like a few groups of nuns just walking by. And know that in Singapore, it's pretty rare to see Catholic nuns. Yes. And it, I didn't give much attention to it. No, because to me, it's like, okay, fine. Maybe I know. It's funny that I do felt like a sigh of relief that I wasn't alone at the train station there. But it noticed when the train arrived and I went inside. I boarded the train and I realized that the nuns just stood there, facing, their backs against the entrance. So they weren't really facing the train, the entrance of the train. Their backs were facing it. Until when I got in the train and I just stood, because it's just one station away to where my destination is from Novena to Toa Payoh. It's just one stop. So I just went in the train, boarded it, and then just stand by the door, stood by the door. When the doors closed is when I noticed one of the nuns turning to me, and she had no face. Like, there's just no face. Number one, it's pretty rare. Again, it's pretty rare to see like Catholic nuns in Singapore. Number two, it's also, it doesn't make sense at 11 plus. So I'm pretty sure maybe I was tired. I was hallucinating from like a long shift of working there, but I'm not sure. So on that day, I think it's really better be safe than sorry. I kind of like told myself to not take trains late at night anymore, especially with this well-known, notoriously haunted MRT stations. So what you guys think? Do you have any experience with any supernatural stories? Haunted MRT stations or even roads that are nearby? Feel free to drop a comment. Welcome for those who has just joined me. Thank you, Vampire, for the support. I hope you like the stories coming for tonight's special is just all about the haunted MRTs, because yesterday I've shared a lot about the haunted roads, and then reading from that article, from one article to another, it did lead, like, one of them is the Buona Vista Road. So then it did lead to another article where Buona Vista, there's the old the train, the railroad there. Yeah. Haw Villa. How do I took my route? Thank you for joining. Okay, so I'm moving on. Yes, before I move on to another featured MRT station, Tampines. Yesterday we were talking about Tampines Road. So apparently Tampines MRT station is also known to be haunted. I am not sure how true it is, but some claim to have seen a male apparition jumping to his death onto the tracks towards the back end of the platform. While there haven't been any recorded cases of suicide at Tampines MRT station to back this up. So again, there's no evidence to how it's haunted, but residents there do share this kind. It's not like one rumor, it's like a lot of rumors. So maybe it's just, rumors for fun. I don't know. There's no denying how terrifying it'd be if I were to see that. Then just call police lah if you see people jump like that. Whether it's real or not, I think I'd still call the police. And then the next one I found also. Okay, this is Bishan MRT station. So it's pretty funny. From Novena to Toa Payoh, and then Bishan, and then Ang Mo Kio. These 4 stations are known to be haunted. Because of where the land was. It is known to be another cemetery, which is Bishan. So it sits atop the old Kwong Wai Siu Pek San Teng Cemetery that was established in 1870 by early Chinese immigrants. So the site was exhumed over a century later in 1979 to make way for the Bishan town we see today, which remains from graves being cremated in the 80s. So while the cemetery has since been relocated with new temples and a columbarium in place, the ghosts of its past are said to still roam Bishan Station. Like Novena, maintenance staff on the graveyard shift have claimed to see figures carrying coffins through the tunnels, so possibly between the 2 stations. There are still graves in Bishan, actually, if you notice. When Novena Station last commuter spot, the headless man was standing. Oh, yes. It is. It's written in this. Correct. They do found. There's rumors about it at Novena. I think again it's based on the history of where the land was. It was a Jewish cemetery, and then not only that, the famous Tan Tock Seng Hospital was there. I mean, still there. So then moving on is Toa Payoh. So Toa Payoh Station finds itself on the list for that very reason. It is the oldest MRT station in Singapore after all. I didn't know about this. Is it the oldest? So what is right here? Now we're going to take this story with a pinch of salt. For netizens to share their real ghost stories. And one of the users shared about it. She was at Toa Payoh Station when she noticed a middle-aged lady on the platform looking into the train. According to her account, the lady was in a kebaya and had pale white skin with jet black hair. The story would be unnerving enough if it just ended there, like creepy lady looking into your compartment without getting into the train. But unfortunately, the user continued to say that she spotted the lady at the platform of the following station, which is Bishan. So she saw the lady at the platform at Toa Payoh, and then she saw again the same lady at Bishan. So the last straw was when the lady suddenly appeared in the train cabin, which was when the user noticed she couldn't spot the mysterious being's feet. See? I don't even know why. It could be, just based on rumor or not. I feel sorry for those who are experiencing that. It must have been pretty creepy to see as you're waiting for the train, and then you saw this lady in the kebaya standing there, and then the moment you got into the train, you saw the same lady. At the next few stations, then you see the lady again at the platform. I think maybe the lady. What if the lady took the train together with her and she didn't notice? See, so maybe she was just assuming a lot. And then this one is also pretty famous. Even I myself heard about it. So Lakeside MRT. So Lakeside MRT might just be the scariest of the lot. For starters, one person claimed to have spotted a Pontianak in the area. According to their story, they were on their way to the station's convenience store, which some say is haunted itself. Ayo, the convenience store down there also haunted. Haunted by what? It's a mama shop, right? So when they saw something flying around thinking it was a piece of paper, they looked up to investigate, only to realize that was not the case. And if that wasn't enough, the poor commuter also saw a pocong and had to break it out of prayer before it disappeared. So known for this too to be loitering around there. Okay, so there's a story that I've heard about this. So this lady and her friend, I think they were passing by Lakeside MRT station, and then outside of Lakeside, there's like there's few huge trees on them, and you know those trees that are wrapped with cloth. You know, the kind. Yeah. So it was at night before they bought the night train, and this is where they like curious. These young girls were just like, "Hey, let's see the tree or what." So one of them decided to do something like funny, you know. She took out the camera and wanted to take that picture, the picture of that tree itself. And as she captured the picture and she looked at the camera, she said she saw nothing but just a pair of red eyes staring into her. So they just fled. They ran away from that tree itself and just went up to the station and bought the train. So I find that maybe they did capture like an animal at night. You know where the light reflects and then you see the red eye with the flash. I don't know. It may or may not be ghost. To me, I'm just thinking she's lucky she never bumped into either the Pontianak or the pocong. So then moving on is Teck Lee LRT. Okay, Teck Lee. I don't know if this train is even active. Isn't the LRT near the Punggol side that all dead? So we've seen abandoned houses, hospital, and even reservoirs, but an entire train station, correct? Correct. Teck Lee LRT abandoned, which is part of Punggol LRT's West Loop. Though technically not abandoned, this train station sits in the middle of a forested area and has been unopened since its completion in 2004. So this isn't for a spooky reason though. It's unused due to low development and demand in the area. At least that's what we knew. So while the station still receives maintenance to ensure everything is working properly, its facade appears to be run down with overgrowth and stained walls. The trains still stop at Teck Lee briefly while going about the LRT route, and some passengers have claimed to get strange chills and goosebumps while they're here. So we can only imagine how it feels to be on the last train home. Teck Lee MRT. So what do you guys think about the article? It's pretty, yeah. I think all these are the ones that I've heard before. Haven't really read through before, but I find it interesting. Okay, so one of this story, yeah. I'll just move on. Just now I mentioned about Buona Vista. So this one, okay, this is shot years ago. The haunted train track. My secondary school friend used to live at Tanglin Hall near the Catholic Church and Hindu temple. There used to be a railway track from Tanjong Pagar railway station, and it will go through Bukit Merah. Tanglin Hall, Buona Vista Tunnel, Bukit Timah, Woodlands Checkpoint, Johor Bahru, and then, so from that, it links from Singapore to Malaysia. So, and trains coming in from Malaysia will run through Tanjong Pagar in the same direction. So this is years ago. No train is operating anymore there. So my friend's block and his kitchen window faces the railway track directly. He says it is very noisy at all times of the day because the trains will pass by. There is a path to cross the tracks to the forested area opposite his block, and there are some colonial bungalows located there as well. But according to him, no one or not many people will live there. The area will be deadly quiet after dark. So the thing is, he saw an old man once walking along the tracks one morning after going to the toilet and peered out of the window out of curiosity. An incoming train came in on its way to Tanjong Pagar, and the old man was gone after the train had passed. So feeling strange, he went back to bed quickly. He shared the story with me when we met in school the next day. However, the son of his neighbor also saw a lady in white, grinning from the corner of his eye, sitting on one of the trees opposite the track at night when returning from tuition. So pretending not to see anything, he went upstairs immediately. There's also another story where my friend's mom got up one morning during the 7th month to close the windows in her bedroom because it was starting to drizzle and it faces the railway track. She also saw an old woman with a boy walking away directly on the train tracks with their bags facing her. So that railway track leads to allegedly a haunted tunnel under Buona Vista. Buona Vista. Oh, not bad, huh? The next story also, the MRT ghost train. Okay, this one is interesting. This one, I think the fella was so tired and hallucinating, but let's just move on to the story. So this is what I heard from my best friend 5 years back. My friend came to my house to do a project as his partner was down, so he stayed till quite late, like 11 o'clock. My elder brother offered him a car ride home, but he denied. So he entered this station that he did not state where and waited for the train to come. Strangely enough, there were no people around. I think at the timing for 11 plus, maybe it should be quiet. Maybe there's not much commuters anymore. So he thought it was very late, so he didn't mind that at first. After a few minutes, he noticed a faint light flickered. Thinking that the train is coming, he stood up. But instead of an MRT that is coming to a stop, came a strange red train. The train, all red in color, came at fast and furious speed and sped past. So it could be like within 2 seconds, the train just all red. So stunned by it, he just stood there wondering what was happening. After the train disappeared into the darkness, an MRT staff approached him, asking, "You saw it?" So my friend nodded in agreement, and the staff continued, "Well, some people see it, and some people don't. Anyway, there's no more train for you to board right now. I suggest you should take a taxi home." My friend quickly exited the station and called me immediately, and my elder brother fetched him home in the end. So that one, I think MRT staffs don't do that anymore. They don't just let you in the station and then after a while you see a ghost train and then the staff tell you that no more train anymore. They don't do that anymore. The moment there's no train, they will just show the screen signal, last train finished, no more train. So you have to go home by taxi already. So what was that train that he saw? All red. Ghost train? Or was he just too tired and imagination running wild? So before I go on to my break, for a short break, this is It's Fright Night Show, where I'll be sharing with you collective horror stories shared by everyone, friends, me, myself, also stories from articles on the internet and also the social media. I would like to know more about your personal experiences, so if you do have a Fright Night story to share, please email it to itsfrightnights@gmail.com, where I'll be reading it for the next stream. As of now, I think I've scheduled my streaming to be done every weeknights from Mondays to Fridays, 10 p.m. to 12 p.m. We'll try to do it at 2 hours so I can squeeze in more stories and maybe we'll talk more about it. So stay tuned and I'll be back shortly. Hello, so welcome back. It's Fright Night Show, where I'll be sharing collective horror stories shared by me, friends, and family around me. Also from articles that I found online and social media postings. So, continuing with the haunted train stations in Singapore. So, from the east side, and now we're going to the central. We've been to the central, which is Novena, Toa Payoh, Bishan, Ang Mo Kio. And this is towards the west side. During the east-west line, the Outram Park MRT station. So what's scary about that? There is not much horrifying stories linking to this station. However, the history about it. So it's built beneath the former Outram prison and Outram Primary School. So Outram Park MRT station should have been sparred from any supernatural encounters. It was said that a pale old lady mysteriously vanishes in the station, leaving no traces at all. So who is this old lady? Who is this pale lady? Maybe it's just staff working there that they're not aware of, huh? And then there's two unexplainable encounters on the train network. So these sightings were kindly contributed by two of the readers of this blog. So as I do not have the ability to verify this, do take the information presented with a pinch of salt. It's just for entertainment purposes. So Paya Lebar MRT station. So this is what the story ran. I was working until very late at night on that day and was very tired. When I reached Paya Lebar, I took the lift up to transfer to the east-west line. So as I entered the lift and pressed the door close button, the lift door bounced open as it was closing. I thought to myself, it could be the door sensor malfunctioning. I tried to close the door again and the same thing happened. I tried for the third time and the door still refused to close. So I whispered under my breath, brother and sister, I'm sorry, I did not mean to disturb. I'm sorry. So frightened as I was alone, I ended up taking the stairs. So yes, it could be the lift sensor malfunctioning, or it could be something that's not happy with him taking the lift. I don't know why. Maybe they do have some personal reasons of commuters taking the lift there. And then the second story is the Pasir Panjang MRT station. Why Pasir Panjang? So Pasir Panjang was a fierce battlefield during the World War II. Many Allied and Japanese soldiers lost their lives in this area, hence, together with Kent Ridge and South Buona Vista, it is notorious for being dirty. It was late at night, and I found myself at Pasir Panjang. I forgot why I was there, unfortunately, but I remember the grass patch outside the station exit was extremely dark. There was no form of light whatsoever on the grass patch. I decided to take a picture of the faint light in the distance, and my phone took the photo with the flash as it was set at auto mode. As I reviewed the picture, I noticed a white patch in it, and it did not match the grass patch as there was nothing at all except grass. Needless to say, I hurried down into the station and deleted the photo. So what you guys think? Now there are urban legends and myths of the train network according to this blog as well. So this blog is the blog SG Trains. So the first one is explaining the turnback sidings at Yishun MRT station. So in 2007, a torrential downpour caused a landslide on the hill adjacent to the turnback sidings north of Yishun MRT station. The landslide revealed 34,000 forgotten urns containing human remains buried under the hill. So, although there were no reported sightings, it is spooky to know that no one knew about these urns as the MRT and Yishun town was being constructed, and many people lived their lives alongside the urns for years before the discovery. Yishun? And also Bukit Brown MRT station. Yesterday I did mention like those haunted roads, and then Bukit Brown, the Lonnie Road and all that. Upper Thompson Road. It leads to this Bukit Brown cemetery. Now there is supposed to be a Bukit Brown MRT station. So between Caldecott MRT station and Botanic Gardens MRT station on the Circle Line lies the station box for the future Bukit Brown MRT station, which sits under the infamous Bukit Brown Cemetery. So the station is not in operation and would only be built once the area around the station is cleared and developed. Bukit Brown Cemetery. So now they're still undergoing this whole development for the train station. And then the third one, yes, the Mount Pleasant MRT station. So it's similar to Bukit Brown MRT station. Mount Pleasant MRT station is in close proximity to the Bukit Brown Cemetery. Mount Pleasant, despite its pleasant surrounding names or pleasant sounding name, is notorious for possibly being Singapore's most haunted hill. It contains another cemetery known as the Mount Pleasant Cemetery. So if one were to ride a vehicle on the Penn Island Expressway, graves can be seen on either sides of the road when it passes this area. In 2017, the construction works for the station caused a grave to collapse due to soil conditions. So the station is stated to open 2022. To open in 2022 as part of the Thomson East Coast Line, which some stations are already open there. The Thomson East Coast Line. So this last one, this urban myth legend, the Singapore $1 coin. Why? Okay. So legend has it that during the tunneling works for the North-South Line and East-West Line in 1980s, a Feng Shui practitioner expressed concerns that the tunnels would affect Singapore's Feng Shui. So his solution was to have everyone carry a bakwa, an octagonal mirror in Taoist tradition. So as Singapore is a multicultural state, it is impossible to make everyone carry a bakwa. Not the bakwa, the roasted pork. There's another. So hence the solution was to inscribe an octagon in the $1 coin, something which everyone would carry in their bags and wallets. All of us have it now. So if you have not noticed, there are many octagon shapes found around us besides the $1 coin. Our paper banknotes, prior to the introduction of polymer banknotes, came with an anti-counterfeit security hologram that is, yes, the octagonal. So the road tax this for vehicles was also in octagonal shape too. So what do you guys think about that? So for the closing of this blog, although some of these tales are spooky, it is a fascinating cultural heritage of Singapore. Though some commuters may find trains breaking down a spookier affair than these tales. So it does seem that the occurrences were mainly reported on the older lines. So perhaps our good brothers and sisters are not yet accustomed to our growing rail network yet. Myth. Urban myths and legends of Singapore. The constructing of the train. So let me know what you guys think. Those of you who are still listening, thank you so much for the support. Thank you for the daily listening. I'll be streaming almost every weeknights, Mondays to Fridays. That if I do feel well to do so, I'm planning to do it from 10 to 12. So 2 hours of all these horror articles, horror stories. Mostly as of now, I would really appreciate if you guys would to just share me any incidents, any supernatural experience. You can email it to itsfrightnights@gmail.com, and then I'll be reading it out on the next stream. So meanwhile, I'll be checking out for more related haunted MRT stories right after the break. I'll get back to you soon. Welcome back, it's Fright Night Show. Continuing with the stories. Now this time it's all those long stories about leading to this haunted MRTs or nearby MRTs. Okay, so there are a lot of haunted places in Singapore that we may or may not know of. So now this story titled Admiralty. An anonymous story submission. Admiralty, which is near to Woodlands, is a very haunted place. My grandmother stays in a flat near Admiralty MRT station. So first encounter was when my parents slept over. Near midnight, my uncle woke up to pee and saw a white figure exactly on the same level of the opposite block carrying a baby in its hands. So the lights were switched on to wake all the people up. My mother uttered some prayers and the figure would bend down as if to avoid the effect of the prayers. When my mother paused, the figure would just gaze at my grandma's flat window. After a while, the people in the flat decided to leave it alone since it wouldn't leave. When my vigilant uncle looked again, she was gone. Second encounter was experienced by my grandma. After a series of events, my grandmother loves to go out to a friend's place and would come back at twilight. So one day, under her block, she felt her neck being pinched, but she just went home. A few weeks after her neck started swelling, we thought it was tonsillitis. Turned out to be some form of a curse. Because every night she wakes up to get rid of the phlegm in her throat due to the sickness, and suddenly on the couch sat this old woman with a red dress and her hair in a bun, just staring at the television. It's scary, yeah? My grandma kept looking, and suddenly the figure would just glide into the kitchen and vanish. It happened consecutively, but my grandma was already used to it. When she underwent an operation to remove the things in her neck, the hauntings stopped. So, addition to the stories, some flat owners in the block clapped doyos. Doyos are known to be like small little minion ghosts. They are called up from those fetuses by shamans and then meet to, run orders from those owners who owns them. So what this writer was saying that in that block it is known that a lot of the flat owners own these doyos. And in the opposite block with the white figure and baby, a boy was waiting for his grandma to come out of the toilet at night, and when the grandma finished, she reported, "I saw someone with very long hair combing it in the room. She was all white. When I turned to you and looked back, she was gone." So what you guys think about the story? The haunted blocks of Admiralty, which is near Woodlands. It didn't state which block it is, like the number of the block, which is good. It's okay. Let's just take it as a mystery, whether it is real or not. I do not encourage listeners to get carried away. For those of you who, especially after listening to the stories and realize that you are staying in Admiralty and Woodlands, please not get carried away. These are just stories for entertainment purposes. And I'll be moving on to the next story. Back to this haunted train stories. The bloody train. So I am not sure if this... yes, correct. This is probably an old story as well. So it read, "You've heard rumors of trains being haunted, even being reported on newspapers? Well, it's true. But not only to certain unclean places, it happens at any time, whenever, and when it feels like it. Well, since I was lazy to go home alone, I waited for my brother's friend to knock off from work. Since he couldn't actually follow me all the way home, we simply smuggled some snacks as he accompanied me as I waited for my train. You better get home fast. Don't linger at the station today damn sweet. So, of course, I didn't believe him. He ranted about it, saying if every worker at the station today had some kind of unexplained accident, the night was going to be very troublesome. So I assume this story is being shared by one of the MRT staffs, okay, from one of the stations. So most people quit after a while, but I too thick skin, means I just don't care whether it's haunted or not. But he was serious. I assured him I'll do just that. The train arrived soon after, and he warned me once again, if anything funny happens, just close your eyes and pray. I nodded and tossed my now empty takoyaki box at him. Entering the train as the doors closed behind me, the train gathered speed and I sat down. I was the only guy so far in my compartment. There were others, but the closest person was at least 2 carriages away from me. I shrugged and plugged in my MP3 player. Then it happened. My MP3 started getting fuzzy. Silent Hill style. I grunted and unplugged the earphone and returned it back. Still, the fuzzing persisted. I took it off completely and stuffed it into my bag. This was pretty weird. I noticed a lady beside. She was extremely pale and looked asleep. I shrugged. Maybe she was one of the other passengers. Anyway, I took out my book and read it. And suddenly, her hands came into my view and blocked my book. I turned to look at her and got the shock of my life. I noticed her only when her eyes were closed, but now, with her eyes wide open, I could only see gaps in sockets of where eyes were supposed to be, and they were crying blood. I recalled running my ass out as soon as the door opened. I quickly ran out of the station, only to realize I was only a station away. I made my way back to the same station. My brother's friend knew something went wrong and invited me into the station. He asked, you saw something, right? I couldn't reply. I just kept silent. He looked into the monitor and shook his head. You damn lucky you only saw one. I was curious. I asked him why. Look at the camera. I was looking. It was live video feed from one of the cameras. It was showing the place where we two were previously. Only that there were more people. Those aren't people. That's what he said. I noted, and of course they weren't. I felt shivers crawl through my spine. My brother's friend gave me some cash to take a cab home. Of course I still took the MRT, but I have a small phobia on very pale ladies till now. Interesting story. So he saw passengers in the train when actually there's just the 2 of them. And then not only that, initially the lady was not nowhere to be seen in the carriage, but when he took out his book to read, her hand reached out and covered his book. And when he looked up, she saw her with no eyes. So that's one of the two stories I found that's related to MRT's haunted MRTs. The MRT one is not, of course, it's not about the MRT story, but it's the blocks near the MRT station, which is pretty interesting. I think this kind of stories are gold. It's scary. It's creepy on another level, you know, like being in that old house, and then from across the opposite block, you'll see a lady holding a baby, and then one second she's dead, the other second she's not. Not only that, you also see a lady inside the living room watching the TV with its back against you, the back facing you, and then she's just facing the TV, so you won't know. So that there are articles that I think missed out few train stations, and for me, I believe the Hopper Villa MRT train station is one of them. Sorry. So Hopper Villa, it's not just the MRT train station there. It's also like a museum of hell, that kind. You know, why it's the Hell's Museum. It's like a theme park located along Pasir Panjang Road in Singapore. So the park contains over 1,000 statues and 150 giant dioramas depicting scenes from Chinese mythology, folklore, legends, histories, and illustration of various aspects of Confucianism. So let's go on with this story. Haw Villa. I want to share a story about Haw Villa. Was told this story by my auntie because I kept bugging her to bring me there in the early 90s, but she refused to do so. So the story took place in the mid-80s. A teenage female distant relative came from Malaysia to Singapore to work in a factory job because not much jobs was available in her hometown after leaving secondary school. So about a few months after working in a factory, she went on an outing with some of her colleagues to Haw Villa on one of their off days. Haw Villa used to have a dragon which houses the hell section, right? So they went inside to explore and stayed inside there for a while. This distant relative of mine was inside the hell section with her colleagues until she heard a voice asking her, "Are you lonely?" Feeling clear, she told the colleagues who was nearest to her about the incident and stepped out of there immediately. They left the place end of the day, and from then on, she always had nightmares and felt a presence following her wherever she went and could not focus on her work at the factory. Her mental and physical health suffered as well. So this girl eventually resigned from her job and went back to Malaysia. The presence followed her even though she went back, and the mediums that her mom consulted could not chase the presence away. So the girl, sadly, passed away 1 year plus after she left Singapore. On the night that she passed away in her room, she kept telling her mom to get the lady who was standing in the corner in her room to get lost, because she is coming to bring her away with her. So it's an incident. I think it ended quite tragically. They went to this health museum, the Hoppa Villa, and as she was in the health section that showcased the statues there, she heard someone ask her, "Are you lonely?" And then suddenly she fell ill. So that is not, you know, pretty sad, tragic story. Whether it's real or not, it's up to you to decide. Okay. So yes, this haunted story. Okay, this Orchard MRT itself. It's one of the most visited, most commuted train station in Singapore. As there's a lot of shopping malls, the Orchard Road itself is a shopping district in Singapore. I am not sure if there's any dark histories about it, but yes, there are cemeteries. I think for those of you who know Takashimaya, there used to be a cemetery lot there. I'm not sure which. I think it was a Jewish cemetery or something there. So it is said that this is just based on rumors. I'm not sure. I cannot confirm if it's real or not. But there is a male spirit lingering in the toilet there. So which toilet? We don't know. Okay, so now the entrance and the exits of the Orchard MRT station, it links to, I think, 3 exits, right? So one that's going to its Ion, one that's going to its Paragon, and then the other one is crossing over to Lucky Plaza and the Marriott Hotel. I think it's Marriott. Yeah. So which toilet it is, it remains to be known. This story is also years ago, so before all this became a very busy. So it read, well, I wouldn't want to comment how true this story is. Only those who is reading this and had experienced this will know. Due to certain reasons, this particular police officer had to be stationed at a certain bank at Orchard MRT for a few days till the wee hours in the morning. So he was warned by the lady bank officer that the male toilet was haunted. Of course, he did not take it seriously. That very night, he went to the toilet at about 11 p.m., where the shopping crowd had ceased. During the midst of releasing himself, he heard someone crying in the next cubicle. He pierced his ear to hear. Indeed, it was a man sobbing. So immediately he came out of his cubicle to check things out. The next cubicle was locked and the sobbing continued. Without much further investigation, he rushed out of the toilet and crashed to the hit to the MRT control. So without asking what happened, the station control officer told him to be calm, as what the police officer had experienced is very normal. According to the station control officer, if anyone had worked long enough at Orchard MRT, would have known this story. Occasionally, this upset male spirit will turn up at the men's toilet and hide in a certain cubicle to cry his heart out. Nobody knows a story that had upset this poor spirit. But guys, if you are interested to find out, you can visit the toilet. Try your luck and see if you can find out why the spirit is so upset. An upset male spirit. Not sure what's the story behind that. Or maybe it's not a spirit at all. Maybe it's just an overworked staff that decides to, have just a release from a mental breakdown and hides himself in the cubicle. Maybe almost every night. Who knows? Okay. So I think as of now, the collection for haunted trains, there are more. I'm sure there are more, but these are the ones that I compiled for today's special haunted MRT episodes. I think there's more than what? I think we read about 15 haunted MRT stories are related to it. From Novena to Ang Mo Kio, Bishan to Payo, and then there's also the Dickley LRT, and then from Tampines, also the east side, and then we went to the west side, which is Outram as well, and Lakeside. So that's not the end of the show. I will be looking for more incidents, horrifying incidents that are shared from social media postings, and I'll be back after this break with more stories. Stay tuned. Hello, welcome back. It's Fright. It is now 11:25 p.m. But I'll have about a few more minutes with you guys, maybe about like 2 or 3 more stories that I've found to be shared. So continuing, as I said, there's not much. There are plenty of haunted MRT stories, but that's all I've managed to compile for today's episode. And I'm still getting about on haunted roads in Singapore and maybe all around the world. So then I came to this story. It's called the highway in Nantou. So this incident happened somewhere on the highway in Nantou, Genting of Taiwan. We are on the way to Minsu, a friend's boyfriend was driving. So 6:30 p.m. ish, it was going to be 45 minutes drive into Minchu after exiting from the bigger main highway to another winding road. A bit like Great Ocean Road, but much more smaller scale. So, as I am sensitive by nature, after entering the winding road, I had an uneasy feeling. At the same time, I tried to brush away my thoughts by saying to myself, nah, there's nothing. Just no road light, there's nothing else. It's just a dark road and it's fine. The sun set pretty early, so it was super dusk by 7 p.m. 20 minutes later, the uneasy feeling persisted and got stronger. So instead of talking to my friend, I focused on the road just in case there could be a car accident, and I could be alert by then and react faster. Just when I thought of that, less than 5 minutes, there was a slight 30-degree bend right. Then later have another 20-degree bend left. About 100 meters away to the 30 degrees bend, I thought I saw something on the left-hand side road fence. The type you see in Singapore Expressway, the metal short road fence. I seriously thought it was reflection of the car high beam. Totally no street lamp, so that shone onto the metal beam. Because I saw the light move. It's like two moving spotlights in theaters, shining towards east between 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock position. So as the car got closer to 40 meters towards the bend, it got clearer. It was a pair of long legs with invisible body sitting on the fence for that angle. It would appear to me that the ghost's body is lying flat on the ground, raised the legs on the metal fencing. Inside me, I thought, I stared 2 more seconds to see if my eyes are playing tricks on me. Oh my god, even you can see the part of the thigh and nice long calf until I could see the clear foot shape. So this damn ghost someone saw it. Within split second, I quickly think, cause the car is 15 meters from the bend. So I seriously couldn't handle it, couldn't face it. If it flies straight into my face. I turned my right to my friend and said, hey, I just want to sleep for a while. Just wake me up when we reach. So as I did not wait for the reply, I just closed my eyes and took off my beads and sighed to pray until we reached the place. 3 days later, we already left the other pair and ventured out in Taipei alone. So my friend said, finally in a bright place. Tell me what you saw that night. I was like, how you know? I didn't say anything. And she said, of course, you started meditating and you never close your eyes during a car journey at night. So, doesn't mean that you don't see it. There is a saying, when you can't see, it's always at the corner of the eyes when you're not looking. I encountered a few black shadows in office before, especially I stay till midnight. There are times that I need to stay after 11 p.m. and I sense different. So I will shout out, sorry, I'm very busy today, so don't disturb me, I'm just trying to do my work. So, but the one I encountered in Nantou is something I cannot explain further. It's either very mischievous or trying to scare someone into getting into a car accident that leads them to right swerve into the edge, into the rocks and sea. So as they were driving at this Nantou highway in Taiwan, so this friend this girl, she saw like a light reflected at the metal barriers by the side bend of the road. And then not only she saw that light, the light moved. But what happened when she looked at that figure that's moving? It turns out that she saw a pair of long legs by the roadside that bend, that metal bend. And what was that? Was it just her eye? Was it her imagination? Was it because the road was so dark that she was hallucinating? That's a pretty interesting one. So a few days ago, I've shared these haunted places known in Singapore, and one of them was called the Red House. This Red House located in Pasir Ris, the east side of Singapore, which is now run as a preschool already. So what I found a story about this Red House visit. Okay, so I've been to the Red House in Pasir Ris and encountered something thought quite mild. Bunch of friends climbed over the gates and went in, but it was quite dangerous because I remember there being a single plank nail across one of the doorways in the house at eye level. People could have easily knocked themselves out had they not stopped themselves in time. So friends were exploring the place while I was slowly moving, focusing my senses, hoping to feel something, but I didn't get anything concrete other than the usual hair standing, spine tingling feeling after some time. So, thinking that I wasn't going to experience anything else other than that, I joined the group and moved along with them. Not long after, we got bored, so we gathered in the living room before we exited the Red House, and all of us stopped to do a head count. At the moment we stopped, I noticed the sounds of sets of footsteps coming to a stop as well. But it was at least a second behind all of us stopped. Keeping quiet, we exited the place and headed back to the gates. Meanwhile, I kept focusing my attention on the footsteps, and the extra set of footsteps followed us all the way to the gate, climbed out, and it was gone, thankfully. So what was that footstep? There's also another, when I read this part where they stopped to do a head count, a lot of these touring groups at night, like there'll be people who joined in these touring groups at night, there'll be like 10 of them, right? So, and then every time they were to leave the place, such places, these haunted places, they'll be like, okay, let's do a head count. And when they do a head count, they'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Wait, 10 people were registered for the tour. So let's count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So was there 11 people registered? That is not known of. Maybe one person got left out. But in the list, there's clearly 10 registered people who attended the tours. But as they kept counting up to 11 hits. There's always stories like this. And then also many times where they go tours like this, and then they hear someone calling their name, it is always advised to not turn back. Especially those people, you know, when they walk in one line, and then the last person behind on the line, and then let's say somebody like, hey, John. And it sounded like a friend calling him. So this is how they use this advantage to manipulate, to trick John to turn back. What happens when they turn back? So it is said and believed that once you turn back, these are the spirits that will follow you back. Think about it. You walk with your friends, a group, 12, 10 of you, and then you're the last person behind. John. And it sounded like your friend. But then you realize that that friend, the one that sounded like your friend, is actually in front of you. And then you ignored. But when you ignored, you just kept walking, and then slowly you heard something else. So would you still continue with the tour? Or would you just leave the place, call a grab, go home? Now for the next story, it's a pretty long story. Let me just slowly set the mood here. So the humming sound. The story is relating to the NS. So it read, like all of any other teenage boys, I think I was pretty brave. I'm not scared of ghosts and never seen a ghost before. So of course when I got into army at 20 years old, so this topic had never bothered me. Sometimes I'd still wish that, you guys are so foolish to think that ghosts do exist. But however, till today, there is still one incident that I'll never forget. So in 2016, that's the year I got enlisted to the Kong. So as you all know, the Kong is so big. So to be doing guard duty, it's almost impossible, right? so big to get guard duty. Also impossible unless you sway or unlucky. So many recruits and companies. So apparently on that day, my section got called to do guard duty. So after lunch or dinner, I remember the BOS and DO say line up after is the parade square. So we immediately line up after everything is clear. And I was pretty happy as it was an air-conditioned environment. So this comes the scary part. So I was talking to my bunk buddy. He was a very beautiful one. He's pretty poor and no cigarette to smoke. So we'll share and the cigarettes and have a few moments of talking to each other. So I remember that night it was 2 a.m. I woke up to do our shift. I was so tired. Then as usual, and the stuff was just slacking, you know. When walking down the path, we walked through the forest. It was damn dark and scary. So the problem was one stand in front and another guy at the back. So leave a gap. We decided to take a cigarette each. So of course this is an illegal thing and this cannot see. But because they cannot see this path as there's no camera. So suddenly I heard a female singing a song in a humming tone. I was thinking to myself, how could it be? Or maybe there's just some renovation works and the workers at the site, you know, playing their song. But it's 2 a.m. And at 2 a.m., I don't see any construction tent and no briefing by the sergeant about any renovation works. So at that point, I can hear the humming getting louder. Louder. And louder. Like it's getting so near. So I did not turn back. I also didn't dare to shout to my buddy in front because I remember the last time when old people used to advise if you were to call out a friend's name in the forest, do not, as these things are recognized and use it to their advantage to manipulate. So I had no choice but to continue the duty. And in my mind, I just kept praying. I told my friend, they just kept talking to me. So at this point, it was still walking, but I saw my body in front. His cigarette smoke left half stick. He threw on the ground and walked faster, straight back to the guard room direction. It's only at this point that I realized and figured that he also heard that humming sound. So I fastened the speed and followed up, and we both head back to the guard room. As of course we were questioned on why we were headed back to the guard room so early and the duty was not finished. So I had to ask if there's any story relating about hearing humming sounds in the forest, but apparently the sergeant did not choose to disclose it. And I think we both know not to talk about this. Because we don't want the ghost or whatever that was to follow us. So when we went back to the bunk, we told other bunkmates about what we've heard. As much as we didn't tell them how it sounded like, but one of my bunkmates actually hummed to the same sound of it. And I was so shocked. So I asked, have you heard it before? And all of them told us, yeah, it's pretty common. If you hear a humming sound in the forest, the key to this, if you hear her being loud, means she's far from you. But if you hear the humming sounds, soft and softer, but you can still hear it, means it's just right next to you. So that was a pretty interesting story about hearing the humming voice while doing guard duty in the call. So I'm sure many of you out there who has served the national service, maybe you are familiar with this story, maybe you're not. Maybe there are urban myths and legends about what to do and what not to do if you hear such things. You do not call out your friend's name. You do not turn back when you hear anything behind you. And last but not least, if you do hear humming sounds, be sure to gauge. If you hear it loud, it means it's pretty far. But when you hear it soft, it could be right next to you. So again, thank you for joining me. It's Fright Night Show. It's 11:41, almost 11:50. I'll be closing the show soon, but again, thank you for joining me. Thank you for Zombie Shrimpy. Thank you for joining the first time here. Right, so I'll be streaming almost every weeknight from 10 p.m. to 12 midnight. I'll try my best to stay as long as I can. I'll be sharing all the collective horror stories based in Singapore or even in Asia. And if you'd like to share your own story, you feel free to email me at itsfrightnights@gmail.com, where I'll be reading it on the next stream session. And I think as of now, I'm doing this project. Well, I want to do a different kind of topic daily. So yesterday I was doing like haunted roads in Singapore, and then related stories to the haunted roads, and then today it's more of the haunted MRTs, and then reading stories. As of course, Singapore is a very small country. We don't have much stories of haunted MRTs, but if you do know, do drop me an email, and then maybe we can continue more to this topic. And yeah, maybe Fridays, I don't know, Friday, what should we do, like a freak show Friday? Or maybe I'll be sharing stories about freaky incidents that may not lead to ghosts per se, but also something that is just unexplainable, seeing UFOs, I don't know. And then Monday we could do like something something else, some topic. Tuesday we could talk about, you know, other family topic or what, but all relating to this ghost horror stories, family stories. So what do you guys think? Maybe Monday is more of like the midnight horror stories shared by people who have experienced what they were doing. Maybe they went for a family barbecue in midnight. So thank you Zombie Shrimpy for joining. Thank you for the subscribe. I really appreciate it. So I'll see you guys real soon. The next streaming will be over tomorrow. So as of now, please take care, stay safe, and book you next time.